Hello! In this video I'm going to show you how to create value. So first I've got some interesting value examples to show you. Hopefully by the end of this lesson and by the time you complete your action items, you'll be able to create value that is both light and dark and that has good transitions so that it is smooth between the light and dark areas. So here's some interesting value examples. Notice how this one, the value doesn't really have great transitions. It's kind of chunked up or chunky, and the other one has better value transitions. Notice that in this one the values are pretty good, so the object seems to pop out into space. And with this one as well, the object does seem to be more 3D. Alright, so let's learn about value. First, let's learn about the different types of value that your pencils can create. So I've got a little drawing here that shows the pencil mark of an F, HB, 2B, 4B, and 6B pencil. So take a look at the different values these pencils create. Notice that the F and HB create pretty light values and the 6B creates a very dark value. What's interesting about an HB pencil is that it is actually the same as a number 2 pencil. So if you have a number 2 pencil, you already have an art pencil. Also take note that Sharpies and pens do not blend very well and that pencils can blend. So that's those two drawings there. So let's talk about ways to create light values. So here is how you can create light values. First, you're going to want to hold the end of your pencil near the eraser. Then you'll want to draw lightly. So don't push down hard on the paper. Use a very low pressure. Here's what that looks like. Notice that I was holding the end of my pencil, that I'm also pressing down really lightly. Now I'm pressing down a little bit harder so I can get a darker value, but notice that it's still very light. Here's how you create dark values. You hold the pencil near the tip and you use more pressure as you're coloring, so you're going to push down harder. So notice that I'm holding the pencil near the tip, kind of like the regular way you would do it when you're writing, and pushing down pretty hard. The harder I push and the more pressure I have, the darker the value is going to be. So notice I've got kind of a medium or a mid-tone range of value, and then I have a darker value right next to that. Creating values can be pretty easy. It's basically just coloring, but also using the correct level of pressure. Blending values can be a bit more complicated. To blend a value, first you want to create accurate shades of the values that you need. Make sure that the different values are touching each other, and then you're going to kind of smudge them together to create smooth value transitions. So here's how you do that. You're going to want to start adding in your value. So you'll kind of start coloring in your area with the correct value shade. Okay, you're going to want to add some different kinds of values, so I'm going to create a darker value. By doing that, I'm going to press harder. Now there's a line between those two values. We want to smooth that out to create a smoother value transition, so you can't see that line. One way of doing that is using a blending tortillon. If you kind of smudge the line that you see, smudge it in both directions, you can even out and smooth out that value area. You can also blend by using a pencil by basically doing the same thing. You'll kind of color up against that line with a lighter value to smooth that out. Now you can also use your eraser to create values, and you can use it to take away values that are too dark. So in that upper area, I'm going to smudge my eraser on top of the values to erase out some of the darker values to create a lighter one. Now if you don't like the way you did that, you can always go back in with a pencil and create values in there to kind of erase that, to erase your eraser. And you can blend that in to make it look like you never did that. So I'm kind of blending it with my pencil. You can blend it with your blending tortillon or blending stump. Those are just some ways to create some different types of value and to blend them together. Creating smooth and blended values will really make your artwork to look more realistic. So let's talk about getting smooth value transitions. So I'm going to draw something similar to the image you see in front of you. It's going to be a sphere with all the different parts of value. So it's going to have a highlight, midtones, darker tones, a reflected light, and a cast shadow. By the way, these are the different parts of value, and they can be found in any object. So when you're drawing something, look for the highlight, look for a cast shadow, look for all these parts, and if you can draw them on your paper, your object will have lots of value and will look more realistic. So here I go. I'm drawing my sphere, I'm adding in my value, some of the lighter ones, darker ones, and I'm done. Now, does this look like it has good shading? Does it have smooth value transitions? Can you tell where the different values meet each other? Because you shouldn't be able to tell. It should just blend and transition into all the other values. The reason why that drawing doesn't look like the picture is because I scribbled in my values instead of coloring them in. And that resulted in getting really choppy values and really bad value transitions that weren't smooth. To fix these problems, we need to learn how to color correctly. So the first step you need to do is to slow down, take your time. Creating a good work of art takes time. Next, you need to focus on getting the correct value shade. To do this, you need to use constant pressure. So if you're constantly changing your pressure, if you're using light pressure and then dark pressure and then back to light, you're not going to have the same value. You need to use constant pressure if you're trying to create one value. Make sure to color neatly, so when you're coloring, have your lines, make sure those lines are next to each other and don't get big gaps. And then to correct your values, you're going to color in between the values you already made in the opposite direction. So here is a quick video to show you how to do that. So I'm going back in, I'm coloring in the opposite direction that I colored before. So I'm coloring side to side, and you can see that the lines are kind of going up and down, using a constant pressure to kind of fix those areas that are really splotchy and to try and get some smoother value transitions. So like right now there's a clear divide between light and dark. I'm going to color next to that divide really lightly to get some lighter values to create better transitions so it looks more like a 3D object and a smooth 3D object. So I'm blending that. You can always take your eraser, go back in. This process is going to involve a lot of drawing and a lot of erasing. So those are the few ways to create value and to start creating value to help objects look more realistic. If you follow these steps and if you put in some time, then I'm sure your artwork will start developing some realistic qualities.